Okay, so starting the night out with a little reggae music to get y'all hopping. Um, First one was Jay Boog, which I know most of y'all like, and then we had Ziggy Marley, and then Yellow Man and his daughter. So I always like to start out with a little zip going on there. So we're looking at 7:02, so we'll give people a couple more minutes. In the meantime, do I have any questions on anything that's going on? Y'all had 2 weeks to work on your group projects and take your midterms and, do all those good things. Anybody got any questions about anything? Next Tuesday, you'll be doing your presentations, and somebody just told me I had an incorrect date in the Dropbox, so I'm going to go fix that, but I must have had I had a typo. Instead of putting 13, I put 23 on one of the uploads. The PowerPoint and the presentation or your one-page document are all due on Sunday. And then everybody presents on Tuesday. Because it is a short presentation, I'm not requiring that everybody talk. On your next group projects, everyone will have to have a speaking part. But on this one, if y'all decide on one or two to do the speaking, that's okay. Where all of you will be presenting on Tuesday night. If you have a preference, you can email me on whether you want to be first, second, third, fourth, or fifth, and it'll be a first come, first serve. Otherwise, if you don't have a preference, we'll just decide on Tuesday night on who gets to go first. So how are we doing? Questions? Okay.
Professor, I do have one question that we were wondering in our group. Would you like on the brochure for us to do in-text citations?
Yeah, you have, with APA, you always have to have, if you cite it in the reference list, there has to be in text also, regardless of the document.
Okay, so it needs to be in both PowerPoint and the brochure flyer. Okay, cool.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about digital marketing or marketing in the digital age, which is one of my favorite topics because it is so important in today's world. And believe it or not, most of you are going to, at some point in your career, probably early on, you're going to be looked on probably as the expert in digital marketing. And the reason that is because you're going to be going in as someone from a younger generation that's been using social media for most of your lives. And a lot of the people you'll be working with do not have a clue about tweeting or any of the other things that go on with the social media. So they're going to be looking to you to get them up to date. And it's a really very economical way to get in the know, get your clients in the know of what's going on. Facebook, you can launch all kinds of things up there on what your hospital's doing or whatever company you're working for, and you can tweet little short things that are going on, all kinds of stuff that can go on. It doesn't cost your company most usually not anything, but very little at best. So we're going to look at digital marketing today and some of the things that go along with it, as well as the Internet of Things. So that's something that not only is important to you as a professional, but it's important to you in your everyday life because we are surrounded by things that are interconnected through the internet. Everything from doorbells to your refrigerator, that you can check to see if it's on or check to tell it to defrost or whatever it happens to be. Our world in today's world is driven by internet connectivity. If someone were to be dropped into today's world that, hadn't been around for 20 years, let's say, they wouldn't know where to turn. They would have no clue because everything is so very different and everything is moving so fast. So what we're going to do today is I've got a video to show y'all that talks about digital marketing. And then we're going to look at the PowerPoint. Then we're going to look at another video on the Internet of Things. And then we'll, if we have time after that, then I'll give y'all time to work in your groups if you need to. And then we'll call it a day. So do I have any questions yet? Okay, so I'm just going to take me a minute because my computer was acting crazy and I need to get to the space where I can pull up that. So give me 1 second. Let's see. Where are you? Y'all notice I like to talk to myself sometimes. Okay. Come on. Okay, cross your fingers and let's hope this works. Let's see. Where did you go? No, you're not here. Okay, hang on. I don't know why the internet has been giving me such misery today. All right. Okay, here we go.
To become one of the fastest growing and most in-demand careers available today. With the ability to work on fun and exciting projects, work with amazing companies, and live the laptop lifestyle working from anywhere in the world, it's easy to see what makes the digital marketing industry so appealing. So in this episode, I'm going to break down exactly what you need to know so you can start and succeed with a career in digital marketing. Let's get to it. Hey there, my name is Adam Earhart, marketing strategist, and welcome to the channel, the #1 place to learn proven marketing strategies. So if you're new here, you may want to consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you never miss a future episode. Becoming a digital marketer, getting involved in the digital marketing industry has easily been one of the best decisions of my entire life, and has proven to be one of the most fun and most rewarding careers I could have ever hoped to have. And that's saying a lot, because my last career was flying business jets for a living. And I like this more. Digital marketing has enabled me to live where I want, to work on fun and exciting projects with the people that I really enjoy spending time with, and also to make more money than I ever thought possible. I first got started in digital marketing over 10 years ago, and in an industry that seems to change almost every single day, it's safe to say I've seen a lot. I've seen what works. Oh, that worked great. I've seen what doesn't. Oh, that didn't work at all. And I've seen everything in between. Might have worked. So this right here is the episode that I wish I had years ago when I was first getting started in digital marketing that would have saved me a ton of time, a ton of energy, and a ton of money in the process. And that's what I want for you. Not the wasting all the time, money, and energy part, but the shortcut to success, what it truly takes to get started, and how to succeed in the digital marketing industry. So let's get started with the #1 question I get about digital marketing, which is, do you need a marketing degree? And the answer to that one is, drumroll please, no, you don't. And I feel I'm uniquely qualified to say this because I actually do have a marketing degree. And while it was somewhat useful, it was mostly from kind of the generic business courses I took in the very first year of the degree that taught me things about economics and finance and accounting and sort of all the other business principles, but less so the marketing stuff. Most of that came from self-study. It came from listening to audiobooks on my way to class. It came from reading blogs and marketing articles in between classes. And it came from watching marketing videos after class. It's not that formal education or post-secondary or university or anything like that. It's not like they don't have a place. It's just that you've got to take a very calculated decision to decide if it's worth 4 years of your life, as well as the hundreds of thousands of dollars that it's going to cost you both in tuition, as well as in opportunity cost that you could have spent while earning. Now, for some people, it is absolutely the right decision. If you're the kind of person that needs a formal place, you need to sit down in class and you need kind of that student-teacher interaction in order to learn something, you're going to be okay. But for most people, simply not necessary. In fact, I distinctly remember on one of my first days of a new class with a new professor going to class and filling out one of those forms about what are you expecting to get from the class and what would you like to learn and things like that. And I remember putting, I'd like to learn digital marketing. And when the professor read it out, he read, me too. And that's when I knew I was in the wrong place. The takeaway point here is that it's not the degree per se that you really need, but rather it's the knowledge, it's the understanding, and it's the experience. So let's talk about that next. The best way, by far, to learn digital marketing is to practice digital marketing. Whether your goal is to apply for a job and to work as a digital marketer for another company, or whether you want to take your knowledge and take your experience to start your own digital marketing agency or consulting, or really just support your existing business, you're going to need to know what you're doing. In fact, this is a bit of a pet peeve of mine when it comes to the digital marketing industry. There's too many people who take a real quick course or read one book and then claim to call themselves digital marketers. And this simply isn't the case. If you really want to succeed, if you really want to thrive and become a top-level digital marketer, you're going to need to study, you're going to need to learn, and you're going to need to take all of that knowledge and actually apply it to get results. This is why the best thing you can do, by far, period, is simply start digital marketing. This means signing up for an Instagram account and trying to grow your followers and trying to create content for it. It means creating YouTube videos and learning about recording and editing and optimizing them for SEO, search engine optimization. It means building a website and learning things like design and development, and also maybe how to rank that website for a few kind of longer tail keywords. And it means learning any and every other thing that is even remotely interesting to you in the field of digital marketing. When I first got started 10 years ago, I started because I was somewhat interested in building websites, so built a website. I then realized that the website that I just built was the ugliest thing ever, so I needed to learn design. Once I got my website looking all nice and pretty, I realized that nobody could find it, so I needed to learn SEO, search engine optimization. Once I started to get a few clicks to the website, I realized I wanted more. So I started to learn about social media. Once I realized that the social media networks and the algorithms really controlled who saw my content and who didn't, well, I realized I wanted to build my own audience, so I started to learn about email marketing. And on and on and on it went. Every time I'd learn something new, I'd get curious about something new and I'd go down that rabbit hole. And then I started learning about something new and I'd get curious over there. So I'd start to learn about that. And over time, by diligently studying and learning and applying what I'd learned, well, day after day, week after week, month after month, quickly became an expert. And this is why the best way to sort of get involved with digital marketing and find out which area you want to practice in and which area you want to develop expertise in, well, you're going to need to taste a lot of different dishes. You're going to need to try SEO and content and design and maybe development until you find the right one for you. And this leads me perfectly to my next point, which is to succeed today, you need to become a T-shaped marketer. A T-shaped marketer is someone with a broad or general understanding across a bunch of different topics, but then a very specific and very focused knowledge on a very few things. Here's the deal. Digital marketing is made up of a ton of different subcategories. These are things like content and SEO and PR, public relations. Also email and design and development, not to mention advertising and social media and branding and video and a ton more. I've spent my entire career studying these things every single day, and I'd still only consider calling myself an expert on just a handful of them. After all, there's a lot of things here. For example, I have almost no idea how to code beyond some basic HTML, but that's okay, because I don't need to. First off, I'm just not that interested in coding. I'm also not very good at it. But second, at least personally, I find it way more fun and way more profitable to focus on things like marketing strategy and content. So where should you start? Well, here's my recommendation. The best place to start learning and honing your skills as a digital marketer isn't on any specific tactics like developing Instagram stories or building a website and SEO optimizing it. But rather, the first place you want to start is on understanding and really developing a core knowledge of key foundational marketing basics, those core marketing principles that are just as relevant today as they were 10 and 20 and 100 years ago. And more importantly, that are just as relevant today as they will be in 10 or 20 or 100 years from now. The best place to start learning and honing your skills as a digital marketer isn't on tactics like Instagram stories or SEO optimizing a website or even a video, but rather on learning and understanding key marketing basics. This is why the next thing you're going to want to do is check out the video I have linked up right here on Introduction to Marketing. So make sure to check that out now, and I'll see you in the episode. All right, let's talk marketing, something I love to do.
Okay, so that was just a little quickie on digital marketing and kind of what you're looking at. And it is actually, the wave of the future. Hold on one second. My TV decided to come on of its own free will. Okay, so anyway, the days of lots of companies using these huge advertising campaigns in magazines and on newspapers and all these different ways are not like they used to be. So many people now are going the digital route because most people, I can't remember the last time I picked up a newspaper. We all go to the web for our information, or to our phone, or to wherever it happens to be. So there are some people that still use newspapers, but not like it used to be. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of hit the high points on the PowerPoint. Hopefully it is still residing here on my screen. Oh, yeah, and of course it's not. So hang on. Okay. Doesn't appear to want to come open for me. What's going on with my computer? Okay, give me a minute, folks. I don't know why it's not opening.
Professor, if it doesn't load, I can just share my screen and put it up, and you can just say next, and I'll hit next for you.
Thank you so much, Ashley, but I think I finally maybe got it to load. Let me see.
Okay, good.
I've had so much trouble today with the internet. I don't know, or not the internet, but just Zoom. It's just been out to get me today. Okay, let's see. I'm beginning to take it personal. Okay, let's see. Okay, can y'all see that? Ashley, can y'all see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, super. All right. Okay, so looking at marketing in the digital age, and digitalization has changed so many things in our lives that sometimes we don't even think about all the differences that it's made in our lives, and in so many different industries, not just in healthcare and not just in marketing, but in so many areas. And these are some of the areas that it's really caused a disruption. For instance, financial services. In 2015, 1,251 banks, the bank branches closed. Now, bank branches, are the ones you see at Walmart, the ones in the grocery stores, the ones that aren't the full service banks. Can anybody tell me, I can't see y'all, so you're going to have to holler out. Can anybody tell me why you think bank branches started closing?
Was it because of the use of apps with banking? You didn't
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was. Now you can take a picture of your check and it's deposited instantly. So, even though these bank branches made it easy for you, you're shopping at Walmart and you just stop right in at the bank that happens to be there. But, you probably would have to wait in line and you still have to take the time to do it. Whereas with these new apps that you can just take a picture and do every single thing through the Internet of Things, you don't have to worry with all that. So it is literally closed down in 2015, 1,251, and in 2018, 1,947 bank branches. So, because things keep moving and changing, and it becomes simpler and more convenient to do it through the internet. In the entertainment, Blockbuster, which maybe some of y'all don't even remember Blockbuster, but it was stores all over. I mean, there were thousands of these stores all over the place that rented DVDs and VHSs and DVDs, and you would rent them for a couple of days or 3 days for $5 or whatever it happened to be. And then you would return them. It was a lending service basically that cost you money, kind of like the library, but you paid for it. And you could get the latest and the greatest DVDs right away without buying them. But they had a lot of down points to it. Like if you kept it too long, you paid these tremendous fees to where eventually you would have paid for the DVD several times over in the late fees. And the way that Netflix started was that it was founded by a Silicon entrepreneur who was irritated because he had a $40 late fee from Blockbuster. So he created the cable service with Netflix. So Netflix virtually eliminated Blockbuster. So in 2010, Blockbuster went from, being a very lucrative business to bankruptcy. And they were replaced by streaming services. Now, then once Netflix got going, all these others appeared, like Hulu and I don't know, there's hundreds of them out there that you can join and get these streaming services. And now a lot of them have even turned themselves to where they're aiming for the business of the cable company, like YouTube TV. You can pay a service for it, and you even get actually stuff you normally get on cable. And, like everything is becoming streaming. You still see occasionally, you see those red box vending machines outside of, like, I've seen them outside of drugstores and stuff, where you can still rent the DVD and you can return it anywhere. I used to see them a lot in airports because you could rent the DVD in LA and return it in Houston or whatever it happened to be, because you can return it because it is driven by the internet. You can return it anywhere, as long as you got it back within the period of time that you could have it. Now, because most planes and most everybody has access to the internet, so not everybody. If you were to buy a new computer today, it wouldn't even have a DVD player in it. You would have to buy it separate, and it would be like a separate attachment that you would hook up via FireWire or USB. Used to, all the computers came with DVDs in them. It made them quite a bit heavier, it's true, but it was a little bit more convenient. But now it's really difficult to even find a laptop that has a DVD in it, because everything is skinny and little and lightweight. So anyway, that's how that disrupted the entertainment industry for sure, and the way we were used to viewing movies. Then you've got hospitality, which is people. There used to be ways to get hotels booked. You had to go like call direct or whatever it happened to be to rent these different places, hospitality type places. And now people book online, and you can look for the cheapest one. I know all of you have seen that Trivago commercial where they've got 3 people standing up there and they all pay different prices for the same room, because they all got it from different websites. So depending on calling direct to the hotel or on some service to help you find it, is all but gone. And to the travel industry, the travel agents, for the most part, they are gone. I remember years ago when I owned my engineering company and I had to fly some of my engineers somewhere, I would just call a travel agent and I would say, okay, look, they need to be at, in New York City on this date by this time. And then she would take care of booking them, their hotel, their car, their airplane, whatever it happened to be that they needed. And then I would run by and pick up the pamphlet that she had with all their information on it. That's all I did. She virtually did everything that you now do on Expedia or on cheap tickets or whatever it happens to be, Priceline or Price, whatever it's called. So the travel industry has also been very disrupted by people being able to do it themselves now. And there's a new digital landscape for healthcare also through all this internet of making things easier. There's a great graphic in the book. I couldn't find, but to put in onto the internet. I lost access to my Jones Bartlett site. It died and they didn't renew it yet. And so it's got all the different things that have to do with health that feed into your overall health being. I think it's on page 374, I think, or somewhere around there. But there's an array of tools that are available for this type of thing. You've got, you can manage your health condition, you can diagnose problems, you can email and text to physicians. Physicians can be provided with medical records through EHR. Physicians can make referrals. It facilitates reading lab results and scans much faster because it goes so quickly to them instead of having to hand carry them. All these different places, and there's a couple of examples that I didn't give you because it was stuck on a different page. Where another example of a, I'm gonna back up a minute, of a digital disruption is Uber and Lyft. They have all but replaced taxis. I had a really unpleasant experience in Tampa this weekend, and because my flight, because of Boston being snowed in, got canceled. So I had another flight that was coming back straight from Tampa to LAX, and I assumed that because it was not going through any bad weather, that I would have no trouble. I'd be able to get on that plane and I'd be back here direct flight and there would be no kind of issues. Well, American had a different idea. They didn't have a crew that could get on the plane, so they kept us at the airport for about 5 hours and then told us the flight was canceled. And I had, it was the middle of the night by this time. So I had to get a taxi to go back to where I was to start with, and there just aren't any. There were no taxis. So I had to call the guy, an Uber driver that had brought me there, and roused him out of bed so he would come pick me up and take me back to where I started, thanks to American Airlines. But the point being that taxi cabs are all but gone. There's a few of them around, but they're not around sitting at airports like they used to be, especially not late at night. So that's another disruption. And a lot of Airbnbs have cut into the business of the Marriotts and the Hiltons, because people like having their own house and their kitchen and, that kind of privacy that you don't get in a hotel. Some people do. I don't like it personally. I'd rather be in a Marriott. But, they've really cut into some of the hotel type business. So they're looking for ways to get around that. So as you look at, marketeers are trying to refine their marketing strategies so they can take advantage of all these digital disruptions. There's a law that was passed called Moore's Law that has to do, it was named after the founder of Intel, and he recognized that transistors were shrinking, and they were shrinking so much that you could fit them, many of them, on top of a chip, which was leading to a lot of our wearable devices. And, people have bands, they have watches, they have wearable clothes, they have all these different things, glasses that have this send and receive digital information. So there's this Moore's Law was what led to wearable type devices. Then there's a need now for seamless customer involvement. The consumer has gotten used to being able to get to their records. They've gotten used to having access and having ownership of the records, where in the past, you didn't get to see your records. Only the doctors and the nurses got to see your records. So now you actually have ownership, and you can take more control of your own healthcare needs. One of the things that the book talked about was what was the value driver for a patient. And they listed 5 things. They were patient empowerment, which gave you the ability to manage your own health. You feel like you have more control. You know what's going on. If you need to look for a specialist, if you need to go on some kind of treatment, things don't get overlooked like they might have in the past. Then you have the democratization of information, which basically means that patients have access. It doesn't just belong to the medical practitioners anymore. That information about you is now available to you. You own the data. It's not owned by the hospital, who can not want to give it to you or send you on a chase to try to find it. You have access to it 24/7. Most of it now, a lot of hospitals are using third parties. I was helping someone get some information on their mom last week, and the hospital itself didn't house that information. It was sent out to a third party, and then you would request it from the third party, and then you would get your entire health records, which then you could use to pass on to doctors or whatever, insurance claims or whatever you might need it for. It also allows for more price competition because you find out more what's going on out there. So the patient journey is basically what happens to the patient as they go from the awareness of the condition all the way to hopefully behavioral change and proactive health care. So as we look at this, we're looking at a focus on mobile medical apps that give more information, but you don't want to depend too much on them because they are still just an app. They're not a real person. They're using statistics and generalizations to give you possible information. You need to understand that many of the apps focus more on general wellness. There are thousands of apps that have to do with keeping up with your exercise, keeping up with what you eat, keeping up with your calories, charting your heart rate, charting your pulse, all these different things that are out there. So they can't do everything, but they can help you in the wellness area, help you know when you need to seek assistance. Okay, marketers must create voice-driven content with price transparency. Baylor Healthcare, which is the one that's out of Texas, it started in Waco and Dallas, and they will call you with an estimate even if you don't request one on what the cost is going to be. So they keep you in the loop from the whole time, from the beginning to the end, so you're not blindsided at the end with some kind of a bill that you weren't expecting. Patients that engage with traditional health system must realize that decisions are made all along the way. So if you have access to your records and you have access to everything that's going on, then you have access to the decisions that are being made on your part. All right, this is just a chart showing the different, really the customer patient journey. And if you look at wellness and prevention, you've got wearable apps for that. Symptoms, onset, seeking care, you can use telemedicine apps for that, like ZocDoc and some of those others. Apps that have artificial intelligence that are online, mobile, and devices for diagnosis. You've got apps for treatment. You've got monitoring conditions, and those have been around actually for a while because many years ago they were already using not an app, but they were using equipment you could take home with you that you would put little tabs on yourself and it would send information back about your heartbeat or whatever else it happened to be. But there's always progress being made. There's always innovation and invention going on. there was a survey done of 1,000 people that said 45% of those 1,000 people owned a fitness band of some sort. Another 12% owned smart clothing, and 27% owned a smartwatch, and 15% owned smart glasses. This was done several years back, so I'm sure those percentages have changed, and that more and more people have all these apps and different types of wearable healthcare devices. Okay, so as we're looking at the different stages, and you're looking at wellness and prevention, at this stage, the majority of apps right now are for health and prevention. They are to keep you going with, like I was talking about earlier, your exercise apps, your eating apps, your heart rate apps, all these different things that kind of keep you going to where you think you're doing okay, but they kind of let you know if you need to seek help. And then you've got your symptom and onset where you need to seek help. And that's when you think you have a medical problem. So you go to find help for it. According to this, 2/3 of the people start with the internet first, looking for a specific health issue to see if they can figure out what it is that they have before they go any further. Then they've got, the next one is seeking care, and you look at the different alternatives. And 60% say that online reviews contribute to their selection. And I can find that believable because all of us look at online reviews. I don't care what it's for. I look for an online review. I don't go to a new restaurant until I am sure that there's not somebody saying that they saw a rat running across the floor, or something like that. I look to see what people are saying about it. And if it's just 1 or 2 reviews, I don't pay attention to it because you can do that your own self. So, you look to see what other people are saying. And if there's a substantial or significant number of people saying that a particular care provider doesn't have any bedside manner or makes you wait 2 hours or you can't get an appointment with them, I'm going to move on. So social media is extremely important. Reviews are extremely important. And people are looking there now, all ages, all ethnicities, all economic levels. They all look to see what's being said about a particular healthcare provider before they make that leap. Okay, one of the things that is going on now, because we do have electronic healthcare records and all this possibility of internet sending things all over the place, is what they call crowdsourcing for doctors. Now, if you watch Shark Tank, you've heard them use crowdsourcing, and that a lot of times what that refers to is money that's put into the company. But in this case, crowdsourcing is all the information is sent to a particular central location, and then you have the collective wisdom of a number of doctors. In the old days, doctors would call a friend, or they would call a specialist that they knew, or they would seek help for another person, maybe 1 or 2 other people. But in today's world, when you have this central location, they have this crowdsourcing where you may have 10, 15, 20, no matter how many people that are available to you in this one central location. And you can get suggestions or help or discuss it with a number of people that aren't necessarily friends in your circle, but people who are experts in the field. So all this leads to a lot better healthcare for the individual. Now, there are still barriers to this type of thing for remote monitoring, because you still have the clinical quality. You still have to know, the people that are, because there's still people involved. So give me just a second, my other computer's doing something to me. Okay, so there's still people involved. So is the clinical quality as good as if you're standing in front of somebody or sitting in front of somebody on an examination table? Another barrier that you run into is your access to technology. It's not cheap to buy a computer or an iPad or an iPhone or whatever, or an Android or whatever it happens to be. So there still are many, many individuals who don't have access to technology. Maybe not so much since the pandemic, because during the pandemic, the internet was offered fairly inexpensively or free to lower economic individuals in some cases, so the children wouldn't get behind in school. But even so, the cost of the internet, even a cheap one, is going to be maybe more than what some people can sustain. So maybe they don't have access to technology, they don't have access to the internet, they don't have access to a computer or whatever it happens to be. So that's definitely a barrier. And then patient engagement sometimes is more difficult, because some people just cannot look into a computer screen at a doctor or nurse practitioner or specialist or whatever it happens to be and have the same feeling to be able to talk to them about what's going on, or to be able to ask questions without being intimidated by the technology. Another barrier is the cost of the devices. Again, it's just so expensive, and not just on the patient's end, but on the part of the hospital. They have to have heavy duty equipment and infrastructure to support this kind of system. And then finally, the clinician productivity. Learning a new technology or incorporating it into the healthcare takes time. A lot of this technology is not intuitive. It's not user-friendly. So is the hospital or the healthcare facility willing to invest the time and money into properly training the people who will be using it? Okay, so beyond the patient journey, you've got consumers. They're empowered by the transparency of the information. It gives organizations really need to have things up and going and response for people 365 days a year, 24/7 are the expectations, because the patients expect their stuff to be updated. There were years ago when records would sometimes be months behind because they didn't have anybody to transcribe the doctor's notes into a typed version in the records. But now, with all the internet and everything being available so quickly, patients and consumers are expecting it to be available right away and available all the time. So, and an issue with this is that the healthcare market is interconnected, meaning that once that information is out there, it's out there. And once it's out there, the organization doesn't have a lot of control over the message that's being sent. So that becomes a little difficult also. And I'm going to take 2 minutes to give you all my spill about, and I may have already given it to this class, I don't know, but I'm going to give it again because you need to hear it again. Be careful what you put on the internet. My daughter, when she was at Stanford, she had a roommate who was had already been accepted to medical school, very bright young lady. And it was her 21st birthday, and she went to a place called Miyake's in Palo Alto. That on your 21st birthday, you jump up on a table, and everybody's banging glasses on the table, and you do shots of some sort of tequila or sake or something. And so she was on this table, and she was, appearing to be not, I guess a little tilted, And so that went out, someone took a picture of it and uploaded to the internet. Well, all these different schools and businesses, they have people who sweep the web looking for that, because they want to be sure that someone doesn't get into their business or their school or wherever it happens to be, that is not does not behave like they feel like they should behave. She lost her admission over that to the medical school. And I've also heard of it happening to people who had their dream job and they pulled a something like that, and it was the job offer was rescinded. So be very careful. Don't put anything out there on the internet that you wouldn't want your grandmother to see. So that's just my little spiel, to be very careful what you load out to the internet, because once it's out there, it is out there. Okay, so marketeers also operate in a highly segmented space, a niche level, which would be something that is very particular to a particular thing, maybe too tiny or not be able to get the right target audience or whatever it happens to be to use marketing in a digital way. You need to consider that when you shoot the stuff out there in into the web, everybody's seeing it, not just your target market. So the number of hits that you get does not necessarily mean you're doing a good job, because what you need to know is, are those hits coming from your correct target market? As I told y'all, when I used to drive the limo, I think I told y'all this, in Las Vegas, and they're just unscrupulous. These different wedding chapels are so desperate for business that I knew of one wedding chapel that would just have their employees, when they weren't busy, just click on the Google ads for the other wedding chapels all day long. Because you end up because when you put an ad on Google Ads, you pay by the click, not by how many people stay on your site once they go there. So obviously, the employees from other agencies were not their target group. They were getting a lot of hits, but it didn't mean anything. So you need to be cognizant of, is your message going to your target group? Another thing that's really important is to know that your brand protection. I know a lot of you have seen ads and logos that look very much like something else, and you click on it, and it's not at all what you were looking for. So people are very quick to try to piggyback on the good work, the good will that you've grown over the years. And two ways of doing that are something that, well, one example of it, the book talked about Dr. Dreon Birch, who was being sued by Dr. Dre. We all know who Dr. Dre is. Even I know who Dr. Dre is. He's the rapper, and he has a whole line of things like headphones and things like that. Well, he was suing this Dr. Dreon Birch because somehow he was, according to the book, was capitalizing on Dr. Dre, or he thought he was, on his name and on his products. So he was sued for the infringement of his trademark. Now, there are two ways that this is commonly done, and one of them is called cyber squatting, which that's when someone registers with the intent to profit from another's goodwill, meaning that you register a trademark that is so very close to somebody else's that people get it confused, so you profit by all the goodwill that the other company, the original company, has developed over the years. In 1999, there was an Anti-Cyber Squatting Privacy Act put into place. But the problem is that, just like infringement on patents, just like everything else, it takes lots of money to fight that. And so you have to weigh it and see, is it worth this battle? So even though the law is there, some of these unethical companies will still try to do it, and then when they get caught, they just pull out. So you have to be very careful of, cyber squatting. The other way that people do it is they call it keying. And what that is that these people buy advertising space that pops up when you're searching for the trademark holder's name. So this is like when let's say you're searching for an OEM product, let's say an iPhone cable. You're searching for an iPhone charging cable. And so while you're searching for it, you might say OEM iPhone charging cable. You'll see ads that pop up on the side that say they work with the iPhone. And they don't say right out that they are, an original product, but they say they work with the iPhone. That's what they call keying, because you look over there and you say, wow, that's $7.99 instead of $37.99, and you click on it. And so a lot of people get sales that way, by insinuating themselves into ads that happen in the search results for looking for a particular name brand. So those are things you need to be aware of. Okay, now I'm going to stop for just a second And one second here. I'm going to show you another video. Let's see. Okay. Before I do that, does anybody have any questions on anything we've gone over so far? Everybody's soaking it up? Okay, let's go through this again. Let me go and hunt for that other video. Give me 1 second. And cross our fingers and hope that I have a little bit better luck this time. Let's see. Okay.
While leaving your house. Instead of traveling all the way back home, what if you could use your smartphone to know the status of your AC and perhaps even turn it off? Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, yes. And this can be achieved with the help of the Internet of Things. Until recently, access to the internet was limited via devices like the desktop, tablet, or smartphone. But now, with IoT, practically all appliances can be connected to the internet and monitored remotely. IoT is shaping the way we live our lives. It helps us get a better insight into the working of things around us. So, what exactly is the Internet of Things? IoT is a system of interrelated devices connected to the internet to transfer and receive data from one to the other. A smart home is the best example of IoT. Home appliances like the AC, doorbell, thermostats, smoke detectors, water heaters, and security alarms can be interconnected to share data with the user over a mobile application. The user can now get detailed insight into the working of the devices around him. Think about it. Until recently, the internet helped people connect and interact with each other. But now, inanimate objects or things have the ability to sense the surroundings, to interact and collaborate with one another. For example, in the morning when your alarm goes off, the IoT system can open the window blinds, turn on the coffee pot for you, and even turn on the water heater. Although all of this is fascinating, there's a lot that goes on in the background to ensure seamless functioning. From effective communication between devices to accurate processing of the data received, a lot of components are involved. In the context of IoT devices, hardware can be classified into general devices and sensing devices. The general devices are the main components of the data hub and information exchange. They are connected either by wired or wireless interfaces. Home appliances are a classic example of such devices. The sensing devices, on the other hand, include sensors and actuators. They measure the temperature, humidity, light intensity, and other parameters. These IoT devices are connected to the network with the help of gateways. These gateways, or processing nodes, process the information collected from the sensors and transfer it to the cloud. The cloud acts as both the storage and processing unit. Actions are performed on the collected data for further learning and inferences. Wired and wireless interfaces like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee, GSMs, and so on are used to provide connectivity. To ensure its ubiquity, applications need to support a diverse set of devices and communication protocols, from tiny sensors capable of sensing and reporting the desired factor to powerful back-end servers that are utilized for data analysis and knowledge extraction. To help you understand its working, let's take a simple scenario. Let's suppose you want to water your garden every time the moisture level in the soil drops. Instead of doing it manually, you could automate it using IoT. The sensors and actuators installed gauge the soil for its moisture. This information is sent to the IoT gateway with the help of communication protocols like MQTT or HTTP. The gateway significantly aggregates data and feeds it to the cloud with the help of Wi-Fi LAN. Once the moisture level drops, the system is immediately triggered and the sprinklers are turned on. However, with the information stored in the cloud, A detailed analysis like the time of the day the sprinkler was turned on, the rate at which the moisture in the soil reduces, and so on, can be done, and the report could be sent over to you on your smartphone over an app. With the improved response, monitoring, and analytical capabilities, IoT is being adopted in almost all industries and domains, opening doors to endless applications. Today, IoT is being used extensively to lessen the burden on humans. To name a few, IoT is deployed for smart homes, wearables, watches and bracelets, smart cars, smart farming, smart retail, smart grids, smart city, and smart healthcare. With such a wide spectrum of applications, the future of IT looks more promising than ever before. In 2018, there were about 23 billion connected devices, which was more than double the world population. According to experts, there will be over 80 billion devices by 2025. IoT is a vision to connect all devices with the power of the internet, always learning and always growing. Now that you have a picture of what IoT is, here's a simple question for you. Which of the following technologies is not used as an interface for a network? 1. Wi-Fi. 2. Ethernet. 3. Zigbee. 4. VPN. Give it a thought and leave your answers in the comment section below. 3 lucky winners will receive Amazon gift vouchers. The integration of IoT with other technologies like cloud computing, machine learning, and artificial intelligence is paving the way for many new and exciting innovations. And that is the Internet of Things for you in short. If you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up would be really appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to the Simply Learn channel and hit the bell icon to never miss an update on the latest trending technologies.
Okay. All right. So it's kind of mind-boggling when we look at the Internet of Things. You know, billions and billions of things are connected to the internet. And you have to wonder, you know, how is there space for all this stuff to be connected? I saw a special, excuse me, on TV one time. I don't know, I usually don't watch educational stuff, but it appeared on my TV and it caught my interest, so I watched it. But it had to do with in Oregon, this building was like, I don't know, it was like a mile wide and long or something, but it was, it stored all the, they had put a hard drive after hard drive after hard drive, and it had, I believe, it contained, I believe it's either the Google or the Amazon information on, and they had people that rode around on little golf cart looking things all day long, checking for hard drives that, you know, had crashed or gone out, and then they had to hunt them down, you know, to replace them. But every day they had 18-wheelers full of more hard drives. They kept adding and adding and adding to. So all this stuff is out there somewhere, and it's interconnected. And, you know, when we think about it on a personal basis, we don't much, you know, I don't much think about it when I'm able to get something off the internet, or I'm able to watch something or see a doorbell or whatever it happens to be. But when you think you're a single person and all these millions of people are using that same space, it's just mind-boggling. Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so, you know, it's as the video told you, it's the connection of the cloud, data, and devices that gives you all kinds of great marketing potential, because if you can tap into that, you can get into all these different people for free or fairly inexpensively. Marketers can follow the patient on their journey. And then they have this thing called silo nature of healthcare, which means, you know, silos. I don't know if y'all know what silos is, but if you go through anywhere with any part of the country that has, you know, like corn or anything that is put in the silo and kind of individualized, you know, so they're kind of off there by itself. Well, it'll begin to not be like that anymore, because it'll be shared out there on the internet. And then we've got, here's another graph that I think is really nice, or figure, that shows you all the different parts of healthcare that get fed into this Internet of Things. And many great things such as monitoring rehabilitation needs handled from home, or third parties can monitor and observe this information, without having to actually come to the home. Now, it could lead to lawsuits, but we hope not. We hope it's well enough protected. Okay. Again, we already talked about security. That's got to be utmost on your things. You have to assure the patients, and you have to be sure that your end of the situation, your infrastructure is protected, against any kind of cyber stealing or cyber attacks, and that the individual's privacy is protected. Because all the time you hear about how hackers, it's their mission in life to break down these security systems. So, and I'm sure most of us, if you've had a credit card, you've been one of the recipients of a nasty letter you don't want to get saying this card has been breached, So you want to hope that this doesn't happen, or that you've got some kind of secondary protection, that if it does happen, it's caught immediately. So that's all part of it, though, is you must be highly secure for this information. Okay, so that covers what we were going to talk about tonight on the Internet of Things and on marketing in the digital ages. Do I have any questions? No? I guess. Itzel?
No, I was just going to say no.
I'm sorry?
I was just going to respond with a no.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. It makes me feel like people are still there when I at least get a no.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I guess everybody absorbed it all. I will post this video once it comes back to me, and I'll send y'all the link. So remember, next week is your presentations. If you have a particular order that you want to be, send me an email, let me know, and it's first come, first served. So now what I'm going to do is, if no one has any questions, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, and you can self-select into your breakout room of your group. If y'all are fired up and ready to go, and you don't need to meet, then y'all are free to go. But if this will give you a little time. I like to give you a little time at the end of class always to check with each other and be sure everything's going on that needs to be going on, and that y'all got it all together. Y'all had 2 weeks to work together during this class time, and now I'm going to give you a few minutes to do it. I will leave it open as long as you need it open. Well, until class should be over, but for the most part, I'll leave it open as long as you need it. And once like I said, once you're finished, then you are, free to go. So let me open up those breakout rooms for you. And I'll be here to answer any questions you may have if you didn't want to ask, as a group. So all the rooms are open now, so you can self-select into your group number.
Professor, could I be put into group 2, Odalis?
Yes, you sure can.
Thank you.
Professor, I'm Kimberly. Can you put me in group 4, please?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Well, if I can get to it, I can. There we go. Okay. Anybody else? Araya, do you know where you're going? Giselle?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Giselle, you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Samantha? Selma? Wesley?
Professor, this is Kimberly again. I was put in group 2.
And what did you want into?
Group 4.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me move you.
You know, good.
There you go. Okay, Wesley, are you there? Selma, Samantha?
Hi, sorry, can I actually be put in group 3?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
You bet.